it is officially here. The next generation Ducati Scramblers have arrived in Philippine shores, and what a way to celebrate it than Scrambler Day, a beautiful event in a beautiful day right in the heart of Bonifacio Global City. Now, the Ducati Scramblers hold a special place in my heart because it's the first big bike I ever rode. So yes, I love it already. But let's find out if the next generation is better than its predecessor in this episode of Beyond the Ride. So just like the old generation Nightshift, I still think that this is the best looking Ducati Scrambler. And they kind of, added stuff that you would add to your bike, but they already give it to you right out of the showroom. Like, of course, the bar end mirrors. By the way, you don't have to keep them down here. You can actually put them up this way. Down here looks better in my opinion, but it's also very difficult to see the back. It's almost as if you may as well not have side mirrors if you're gonna have it down here. But something else that they added, of course, I love the indicators, the spoke wheels, the flat seat. It's very, I know people are getting sick of cafe racers, but I still like the look of a cafe racer. And that's basically what the Nightshift is, right? I love the paint. When you look at the paint, the detail of the paint, you kind of see it kind of sparkling underneath the sunlight. And I think it's just such a nice touch to it. In fact, this is the only colorway of the Nightshift. The other models or the other variants of the Ducati Scrambler, the next generation Ducati Scrambler, come in different types of colors, but the Nightshift just comes in this type of blue, but I think it's perfect for it. Now, there are a bunch of upgrades on the bike, such as the TFT screen right here. Finally, the Ducati Scramblers have a TFT screen, and I think it actually looks really great. It has riding modes, it has road and sport. In fact, this one is a little bit upgraded because they changed the exhaust and the mapping. So now it's, let me get it exactly for you. So now it is called Road Evo and Sport Evo. Now, typically in a stock Ducati Scrambler, it's just going to be sport and road. But because they upgraded the exhaust, and we're gonna listen to that in just a bit, but they also upgraded the riding modes. They also upgraded the cornering ABS, so the safety standards of the Ducati Scrambler Next Gen, all of them have been updated as well. So it gives you the peace of mind when you're riding on the road that you know that the cornering ABS has been upgraded as well. Plus, they finally have LED all around. Usually, the old ones, it's just a DRL that's LED, but now, as we turn this on, as you can see, it's all LED. Powering the machine is an 803cc Desmo engine delivering 73 horsepower and 63 Nm of torque. Its air-cooled single overhead cam L twin engine provides an authentic Ducati experience that's both accessible and enjoyable at the same time. Its power is ideal for both newcomers and experienced riders, offering just enough excitement for fun while remaining predictable and manageable. The engine is now also ride-by-wire. The modernization allows the integration of traction control into the two new riding modes, which is road and sport. Now, it doesn't have wet mode, but all you gotta do is really just put it on road, and the throttle response is gonna be a lot more, manageable and compared to the sport. Now, the previous models already had cornering ABS, but these have been upgraded and have been improved upon. The front suspension is a non-adjustable KYB inverted 41mm fork, and the rear suspension is a spring-load adjustable KYB shock. The front wheel is size 18 and the rear is size 17. They come with Pirelli MT60 RS. The front brakes are 330mm disc radially mounted Brembo 4-piston calipers, while the rear is a 245mm disc with single-piston floating Brembo calipers. So I know what a lot of you people are asking or probably wondering if the Ducati Scrambler, which is known throughout the years that the bike has been out to be quite a very warm, hot bike. I will say that the next generation, the new generation Scramblers, are about 30% cooler than the previous generation, which is a very significant number because you feel the heat really more back here where the pillion is seated instead of down here where your legs typically are. And they just rerouted some stuff here so that the heat, it's basically the same engine, but it comes out over here instead of emitting heat down here. So I think that's a big upgrade as well with the next gen scramblers, because that means the rider won't feel as much heat when you're stuck in traffic. So you do have the dual sport tires already. So the Icon and the Full Throttle are a little bit more road oriented, and this one is a little bit more scrambler feel, if you want to say that. And of course the spoke wheels look great. I love that they are black as well. Inverted forks, you get the X right here. Like I said, they made it look like as much as a cafe racer of all the other Ducati scramblers out there. You get the side plates right here. Typically people will put a number. I don't know why. I think it's kind of like the flat track kind of feel to the bike. I love the bike, the back right here. It's very nice and clean. Again, the indicators to me are the winner. I mean, that's typically with other bikes, that's one of the first things I would change. That and maybe the exhaust. But this one, it looks great already as is. Now, something that EJ Punsalan pointed out, of course, EJ is our writer, and of course, Jack also pointed it out. Right here, you probably want to put some protection down here, maybe a bash plate of some sort, because you know, the oil filter right there, if you bottom out, could cause some problems. So as mentioned, the seat is nice and comfy, and it's very nice and plush. I love of course, the Ducati details right here in the back. And the seat height is actually a very Pinoy-friendly 795 millimeters. There is actually a low seat height option, which is 780 millimeters. And for the taller riders out there, you can actually get a taller seat height at 810 millimeters. I'm 5'6" with a 764 millimeter inseam. And as you can see, perfect.
Kako might want to opt for the low seat.
Yeah, Jack's right. If this was Kako, not just the low seat, but low suspension also. So he needs it at about 700 millimeters just so that he can reach the ground. So just like the old Nightshift, the handlebar is nice and wide. It's actually a flat bar. You know, some of the other scramblers, you have the handlebars around here. They kind of go up that way. This is nice and flat. Again, it's a nice option if you ask me, because I'm going to go back to the term cafe racer, right? Mostly cafe racers have the clip-ons and they're about here. This one, they want it to be a little bit more comfy, but not quite as high as some of the other Ducati scramblers. So they made it a flat, they installed a flat bar on the bike. And I think it's perfect. I really do. I mean, this is my preferred position when it comes to this type of bike. I mean, if you're in an adventure bike, sure, I want it up here. But for this is good. So yes, this is the next-gen Ducati Scrambler Nightshift, but there are some stuff about it that kind of remind me of the old one as well, aside from, of course, the flat bar and, well, the aesthetics of the bike. This right here, this little play that you get from the throttle. Yes, I know you can fix it easily. You can just put a spacer. And actually, you know what? I don't even really notice it, but there are people who want this a little bit more, well, not as loose or not too much play. But I don't really notice it too much when I'm riding. Okay, so let's do a quick sound test, but I have to point out that this is an upgraded exhaust. This is already a Thermi exhaust, and I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. Listen. So I know what Ducati Philippines is doing with this exhaust. That's why they installed it in the test unit bike. Because once you hear that, you don't want the stock one anymore. So good job, Ducati Philippines. You guys got that right. Alrighty, so here we are, the Ducati Scrambler Nightshift Next Generation. The Scramblers actually, the Ducati Scramblers are actually a really important part of my riding journey. And that's what I said also the last time I did the first night shift here on MotoDeal a couple of years ago. It's because the Ducati Scramblers, you know, they're kind of the more approachable Ducatis, and they're kind of, you know, when they were introduced to the public, to the world, it wasn't a sport bike, and it wasn't really a, you know, big cruiser. And those are really the two bikes that I saw most of, you know, as a child growing up. It's either a sport bike or something like a Harley Davidson. And both of those didn't really resonate with me so much. So when they released the Scrambler, it was something that I kind of got interested in because it was the more fun, more lifestyle-oriented bike of Ducati. And I think it really resonated with many people around the world because it has been doing well for quite some time. You know, I guess that's why the tagline is really Land of Joy, right? It's supposed to be something that's a little bit easier to, you know, more approachable, nothing to be afraid of. In fact, I'll go as far as saying that, you know, the Ducati Scrambler Icon was the first bike or big bike I rode that's larger than a 150cc motorcycle. So because of that, you know, and I did that in Thailand, and because of that, it makes you really appreciate the bike because for a beginner back then, I wasn't scared of it. I wasn't afraid when I was riding the bike because it was really easy to ride. And I think a beginner could actually handle this bike quite well. Okay, so let's talk about this particular bike now. I mean, the seating position is as you would expect from a Scrambler, but what I appreciate about it is that, you know, the seat is nice and comfortable. It's actually, I think it's more comfortable than the previous generation Nightshift. And because it's a cafe racer style, it's not so committed because you're not in a, you know, the position of the ergonomics is not like it doesn't have clip-ons, it has a flat bar on. So it's not as committed as the old Ducati Scrambler Cafe Racer. I think this is actually, I like this much more than the old Cafe Racer Scrambler because it's still more comfortable, right? It's still a comfortable bike. It's not something that, you know, you'd start, your back would start hurting on a long ride. You know, it still has the trellis design, but Ducati managed to shave off about 9 pounds from the previous generation. That's a lot. If you think about it, 9 pounds lighter, this Scrambler. So it's such a light bike and that it's so nimble that you can actually just maneuver it in the city really, really easily. And it can actually handle the twisties quite well as also. I was able to take this out on heading to Tagaytay with the bike, and it managed to be substantial on the freeway, and it managed to feel substantial on the freeway, I should say, and it also was able to handle the twisties quite well, and even the off-road part, it wasn't an issue. It actually is a great all-around machine. I really appreciate the TFT. I really appreciate the TFT screen. I think it's easy to navigate through, and it's very I honestly like bikes that are very basic and very fundamental. But this, I like that they finally included the TFT screen. And the funny thing is, with all the additions of the bike, when all the upgrades that they did with the bike, it's actually more affordable than the previous generation Nightshift, which is kind of strange. I don't know why that is. In fact, when I first saw the new Scramblers, this was back in 2022 in the World Ducati Week. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to take photos and videos of the bike, but I thought it was going to be significantly more expensive than the previous generation, but it's actually more affordable. And of course, I'm going to tell you about the price later on in the extra. You know, with the new dash, the TFT screen, it has a gear indicator, and it's also ready for the Ducati multimedia system. So you can actually connect it to your phone and just have all that kind of stuff with it. It's similar to the other Ducati, the normal Ducatis out there. They've upgraded the Scramblers already so that it's going to be a little bit more intuitive, and it can be, you know, it's upgraded with the technology that you can use your phone and connect it to the bike. The ABS system, as I mentioned, has been upgraded to the Bosch cornering ABS. The old model already had the cornering ABS, but they did improve this one. So again, it's a peace of mind while you're riding the bike that it's going to keep you as safe as possible. And the clutch, well, the clutch is now lighter thanks to the hydraulic adjustments. And of course, the LED indicators have been incorporated into this bike, and it's full LED already, which I also really appreciate. When you look at the Ducati Scrambler Nightshift, the next generation, it does still maintain a contemporary feel while embracing a sportier, almost, cafe racer inspired appearance with a little bit of a hint of hooliganism. There's still a little bit of that. And that's kind of what Scramblers are, Ducati Scramblers are. Yes, they're not exactly performance bikes. They're chill lifestyle bikes that you would use on the daily even, and it's something that I appreciate. But it does still have a sense of that hooliganism that Ducatis are quite known for. I really do like this nebula blue colorway. I think it's something that I think it was the perfect decision for Ducati to pick it. I mean, the old one was matte gray. The old Nightshift was matte gray, and I actually liked it when I first saw that. But this one I really, really like. I mean, it's, under the direct sunlight, it looks so good. I like the way it kind of glitters also. I do believe that they chose the right color for this. But having said that, you can actually take the panels off from the tank. These are, you can customize it. You can actually just take this off, put a different color if you want. But the Nightshift, it's really just comes with the nebula blue. And I wouldn't change it. I would stick with this, and I think it looks perfect already. Now, riding the bike in the city is actually pretty easy, I have to say, because it's so light, it's so maneuverable, it's so flickable. You can actually filter pretty easy with this bike, even though the handlebar is a little bit wide because it is a flat bar. It's actually lower than the Icon or the Full Throttle, which means you're actually below the side mirrors of cars when you're filtering. So it's actually not difficult to filter with the bike. I think it's probably one of the easier big bikes to filter in traffic here in the Philippines. And I mentioned it a while ago that the heat from the engine, you don't really feel it so much. Yes, it's still gonna get hot, just like all bikes will, but because they rerouted something underneath the bike, the heat actually goes more to the pillion instead of the driver of the bike. And I think it's a great decision by Ducati to make it that way so that it's just more comfortable for the rider. I haven't gone around with a pillion on the bike, so I don't know if I did have a back rider, if it would be too hot for her or him, preferably her. But I think it's going to be something that you should watch out for if you were to purchase the bike and you plan to ride two up on it. You know what? I don't like riding in the rain. It's not my favorite thing in the world. But as it's raining right now here in Manila, as I'm testing out the bike, it doesn't feel like it's. I mean, it still feels pretty planted. I have no sense of somewhat danger with the bike. I mean, I feel pretty confident with it, even though the road is wet. I still think it's very stable. It manages the road, the wet road really well, and I'm riding it in sport mode. So I mean, I didn't have to. I thought about changing it down to road, to the normal road mode, but even at sport mode in the wet, I think it still handles it pretty well. In a way, like I can compare to a certain extent, like for example, the Monster and the XSR 900, right? That one I can kind of make a comparison with. But this one, the Nightshift, the Ducati Scrambler Nightshift, I don't really see it. I don't really see something that's quite similar with it. Maybe the closest one I can think of is the Triumph Street Scrambler, but not really. I mean, that's a little bit. It's still different. So I don't quite If you guys can think of a direct competitor for this bike, let us know in the comment section. I'd be curious to know what you guys think as far as what rivals that this bike would directly have in the market. So in a nutshell, I think with all the upgrades of the bike, of the Nightshift, they did such a fantastic job. They added tech, they added safety features, they made it not as hot as the previous generation. I think they did such a significant upgrade with the Nightshift that I'm really surprised that they managed to even lower the price of the previous generation. I don't understand how they did it. In fact, I thought it was going to be a lot more expensive. But for them to find a way to make it more affordable, the bike performs better, it looks better, and it's not as hot, and it's actually more affordable than the old Ducati Scrambler Nightshift, that is pretty impressive. I like that, and I think it's something that the public will appreciate, and I'm expecting these to sell really well here in the Philippines. Well guys, there you have it. The all-new next generation Ducati Scrambler Nightshift is available now in the Philippines. Now, if it's not obvious yet, I love it. I think it's better than the previous generation Nightshift, and it's also more affordable. The Icon starts at 670,000 Philippine pesos. The Nightshift starts at 790,000 Philippine pesos. That is nearly 100,000 Philippine pesos more affordable than the previous generation. In my opinion, that is a pretty good deal. For more information about the bikes and other MCs out there, log on to www.motodeal.com.ph. This has been Jinno, and hope you guys enjoyed, but be on the ride.